Joining us now is House Ways and Means Committee Chairman Jason Smith. Congressman, it's great to see you tonight. Thanks for being here.
It's great to be with you, Jackie.
First question, any conversations with McCarthy? Do you have any light to shed on this situation? Because yesterday it seemed like both sides felt that it was possible to strike a deal as early as the weekend. Now all of a sudden we're hearing a pause.
You know, it's what is expected in negotiations. Anytime you have people with two very strong, different opinions and directions to go, there's going to be some ups and downs, and definitely today was part of that. It's unfortunate that President Biden waited 97 days before he decided to start negotiating. I'm glad they're negotiating. He probably should have stayed in Washington instead of traveling outside of the country so we could actually take care of our problems first before he goes somewhere else.
And reports indicate that he was able to break away to make a call about debt ceiling negotiations. But these are the kinds of things that really, I think, are done better in person. So a lot of critics are hitting the president for taking this trip at this time when the nation's future essentially hangs in the balance, right? And this is something that Americans aren't taking lightly, but yet somehow the White House is digging its heels in. It seems there are certain elements within McCarthy's proposal, who, by the way, said, we'll raise the debt ceiling, but we want to cut spending. And that's the biggest problem, because all this president has done since he took office is spend, spend, spend. That's why we are where we are.
Jackie, in fact, just in his first 2 years, they increased spending $10 trillion. It was a $10 trillion increase. And for every American to try to project and analyze of how much $10 trillion is, imagine if you spent $13 million every day since Jesus Christ was born. You still wouldn't even spend $10 trillion. And that is what has led to the highest inflation in 40 years that every American's facing, with higher price of cost to put food on their table, clothes on their backs, and gasoline in their cars. So that's why House Republicans want to address this fiscal insanity.
That's a fantastic analogy, and I think it'll blow a lot of viewers away. When you talk about inflation, hit a record high just last year of 9% because of the excess of $6 trillion that was spent in new bills. And prolonged pandemic policies when the pandemic was clearly over. So now we're dealing with a situation where Americans are struggling to put food on the table. They're racking up debt to the tune of $1 trillion. It's the highest that we've seen on record. Personal savings has dwindled. I mean, the country's really in a dire place. So when you put this debt ceiling situation into the mix, and the fact that we may not be able to pay Social Security, for example, or our military bills, you really think about what's at stake here. Last time it happened, our credit rating was downgraded. This is not something the country needs right now.
I'll tell you, that's why the House Republicans passed Limit, Save, Grow. We are the only chamber to increase the debt limit to avoid default. The Senate Democrats can't even get a vote on what the president's been requesting. And the president's been requesting something super unreasonable. He wants a blank check debt limit increase. That's not what the American people want. Not even Senate Democrats will go along with that. So that is why it's so crucial that we have serious, real negotiations where everyone gives a little.
Yeah, real quick before I let you go, your colleagues in the House are questioning how many federal employees are working from home on pandemic policies. They're saying that the taxpayers deserve better. Your thoughts?
The taxpayers definitely deserve better. Every employee of the federal government is at service to the American people. That's why Congress back in February passed the Show Up Act, requiring people to show up for work within the federal government. We had the Secretary of HHS before our committee just a few weeks ago, and we highlighted a vacant parking lot at CMS just outside of Washington, D.C. on a Monday.
Yeah, and one topic I want to hit with you as well, this puff piece on Pete Buttigieg from Wired, basically talking about how infrastructure, he's the transportation secretary, by the way, only occupies a sliver of his, quote, voluminous mind. I guess they're trying to make it seem like he has so much other brilliant thought in his mind. But having said that, his job is to think about infrastructure.
His job's pretty important. Supply chains, infrastructure, the railroads. I mean, there's been some issues there. I think that's what they should be talking about. But, you know, a lot of the liberal media likes to give puff pieces for anyone who's a liberal. If you're a conservative, you're going to be crucified.
Sounds about right. Jason Smith, Congressman, thank you so much. Good to see you tonight.